Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 13th of September and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, in the video, we'll be taking up the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper along with the background as well as the way forward in the articles. And meanwhile, I would like to tell you that you can download this explainer PDF from the Telegram channel, and this explainer PDF you can follow along with the video as all the notes have been given in this explainer PDF. Fine guys, the link for the Telegram channel has been given in the description box, so from there you can reach to the Telegram. Moreover, in Telegram you can search Thinking Palette by Sahil, and there you can also download these notes. Now, before starting up, first of all, let's take the overview of the entire newspaper in order to understand that which articles are important in the today's newspaper. And meanwhile, a very good morning to everybody. Okay, a very good morning to everyone. Now, so the first article, Hindu women's suit in Gyanvapi case maintainable, says court. So guys, the Gyanvapi case and Ayodhya case, the day-to-day basically developments and the controversies etc. that happens in this direction. Now the Gyanvapi case as it is going on. For UPSC examination, you need not to follow all these particular developments because it has become a kind of a politically flammable controversy. So no need to go in that. Retail inflation resurges to 7% as food prices mount. So guys, understand this particular thing that when we talk about the inflation, the comfortable range of India for the inflation is between 2 to 6%. So as suggested by the Urjit Patel committee, India should go for inflation targeting and the range of inflation should be 2 to 6%. But from past few months, we have seen that inflation in India is above the 6% range. Fine. Now the retail inflation is around the 7%. However guys, the finance minister has already made very clear that right now inflation is not the priority for India. Right now the priority is growth, and we are more focused on growth. And obviously when a country is focused on growth, it pumps more money in economy. When it will pump more money in economy, the growth will come, but inflation will also be a problem. But right now we are not concerned on that particular thing. It has been said by the finance minister. Okay, so guys, now you know these particular things, that see that you don't need to track that. Okay, in August month, July month, fine, that what has been the inflation trends. These month by month data is not at all important, and in the past multiple times we have discussed in much more detail also this entire scenario. Now moving on in this particular direction guys, after that Congress, an important pillar in opposition unity. Fine, not important article, this is a political issue. Fine. After that, moving on, AI attaching AIDMK office extraordinary, eastern borders stable, commander. So we have seen yesterday, not yesterday, just couple of days back, that around the LAC, the Chinese and the Indian troops have pulled back, and the patrolling point number 15, from there the disengagement of the India and China has happened. So this is a positive thing that has happened, and we expect that on the same line there are more pullbacks that should happen. Okay, then go guys, moving on in the city section. No interviews into the St. Stephen College. Then these tenders, advertisements etc. have been given. Okay, not important for your examination. Okay guys, moving on in the regional section, then again the political articles, issues etc., dog menace and all these things. So nothing is important in this particular direction for your UPSC examination, and as you might be having different regional section, you might be having different edition of Hindu newspaper, so much relevant issues don't usually come there. Okay, so directly we'll reach to the editorial page. On the editorial page, the first article is about the Bharat Jodo and the Congress Jodo. Okay, so the article is written by Shashi Tharoor, and the article is talking about that by the Bharat Jodo, the Congress is testing its acceptability, and so what are the prospects of Congress, BJP. So political article, no need to go too much into that detail. Then 3 to tangle. So guys, this is the issue where now the USA has agreed that it will refurbish the F-16 fighter jets of the Pakistan. So India has concerns in that direction. We'll see this particular article that what it's talking about. Then India has lost its way in the in the use of international law. So a good dimension and a different dimension has been given. We'll see this particular article also. Then guys, this particular article is talking about the Asia Cup. Okay, Asia Cup and basically the Sri Lanka's success. yes. Okay, so with respect to the examination, article is not important, academic substances not there in this particular article. Then guys, moving on. Okay, and one more thing is that guys, when we talk about the sports related news, so in the sports related news there are two things that I want to say. Number one, in the sports related news, much questions have not been asked into the UPSC when we see the history of the UPSC. You getting it or not? And secondly, the trophies, the crickets and the championships that continuously go, they are not at all important for your examination. Are you getting it or not? How I am telling that particular thing? Only by analyzing the past papers that have been asked, and you have to always see the pattern, and on that particular pattern we have to prepare, because a smart study is very much needed in this particular examination. Fine. Then G20 power great responsibility, we'll see this particular article. Top secrets at Mar-a-Lago. Now guys, this particular article is talking about the raid that was made onto the premises of the Donald Trump by the FBI in the USA. So that particular developments, okay, 15 boxes were recovered and all those things. For UPSC, no need to go in this particular article. Then BJP TRS, fine. After that guys, coming to the text and the context page. So in the text and the context page today, who is the median road accident victim in India? So now what this article is talking about? This article is talking about the accident numbers. Okay, that how many how many males were involved in accident, how many females, how many transgender, at what time the accidents have happened, 12 to 3 am, 3 to 6 am. Now, do these datas are important for examination? No. Find these microscopic data that, okay, at what time accidents are happening, how many male are dying, how many female are dying, okay, then how many accidents of cars were there, jeeps were there, buses were there. No, you don't need to go into such microscopic data. Number one, not required in our UPSC examination, and number two, fine, you'll not able be able to remember this particular data after 1 year. Okay, so much importance is not there. Then this is an bibliography article talking about the female knights and the begums of the Bhopal. Okay, so basically these are the books. From here the reference have been taken. UPSC relevant substance not there in the article. Then guys, moving on, then the political issues etc have been given here. Moving on in this particular direction, India raises Sri Lanka Tamil issue. So with respect to this article, we'll understand the entire controversy of the India Sri Lanka 13th Constitutional Amendment Act and this recent issue that has happened. Supreme Court rejects petition of linking pornography to sex crimes. We'll see this particular article. BJP failed Kashmiri Pandits. Political article not important. Okay. Then guys, moving on, Nagas to meet the Shah for the revival of the talks. Now guys, just a couple of days back, I have explained you the entire Naga issue that was going on. Okay. Then African cheetahs to land in Jaipur on Friday. Now no need to track the cheetahs where they have reached and all that particular thing. Fine. Just guys, you need to understand this particular thing, and even we have discussed it in a lot of detail earlier that India is going for the reintroduction of cheetah in India. So in India the cheetahs got extinct way back in 1950s. Okay, so now we are bringing the African cheetah in India, and these African cheetah will be launched into the Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh. Okay, now they will be released onto the birthday of the Prime Minister. Fine, but no need to go in more detail in this. BDS course to be revamped. We'll see this article. States told to implement the adoption rules. So guys, this adoption issue is going on from so many of the days. Fine. Then Raktadaan Amrit Mahotsav, it is for the blood donation. Okay, then guys, government sets ball rolling for new offices of the MPs. So now the MP chambers are being inaugurated. They will be unveiled into the new Central Vista plan that is going on. Okay, center trying to curb the lumpy skin disease, PM. So the lumpy skin disease has infested the cattles in the past. So government is working on that. That thing has just been provided. Then Ukraine claims more territorial gains. So every day you don't need to track the Ukraine-Russia crisis that is going on. Xi to visit Central Asia, first overseas trip into the 32 months. So basically guys, the SCO meet is going to held, and in that SCO meet, Xi Jinping is going to participate. Indian Prime Minister is also going there. We'll see that particular in that particular capacity also. Prolonged Rohingya stay impacts the Bangladesh's stability. So from the Myanmar, the Rohingyas have migrated to nearly all the countries into the surrounding region, including Bangladesh, India. So the Bangladesh Prime Minister had said that how the Rohingyas, they are coming in the Bangladesh, it impacts the nation. King Charles addressed Parliament. So we have seen that the King Charles has become the king in the UK. He has assumed the monarchy. Then business page, India may need 28 gigawatt of new coal fired power plant. We'll see this particular article. Then guys, after that, Gazprom plays minor role in undelivered LNG. Air India's stakes fine. Drop in forex reserves. Okay. Sari market in South India. Not important articles, guys, with respect to your examination. And see, one more thing, no need to track every coming week or every coming month that what the forex present status is, at what $1 billion it's standing, and all those kind of things. Fine. However, academic articles, for example this one, will see that. Then we have the sports page. Okay, so in the sports page, the cricket and all these issues have been given. Okay, now guys, let's take all the articles one by one, the relevant articles one by one in the detail. Okay, so starting up. Now in every class, I gave you a GS quotation which you can use in one of your GS papers. So guys, today we'll be taking the quotation from the Kofi Annan, the former United Nations Secretary General. So Kofi Annan says that education is a human right. Education is a human right with immense power to transform. On its foundation rest the cornerstones of freedom, democracy, and sustainable human development. Now education has been compared with the human right. It means that everybody should be given the opportunities for education, because education is the true condition of empowerment, and education is the foundation which gives the education is the cornerstone of the freedom, democracy, and sustainable human development. Now guys, when you will be able to respect other people's freedom? Only when you know the idea of freedom to its core. And how you can know the idea of freedom to its core? It is by education. Now when you can have the respect for the democracy, when you can understand the worth of democracy, and when you can become the participant in the democracy, only when you have the education and when you know about the democracy. Then sustainable human development. Now understand this particular thing. What do we mean by sustainable human development? Now idea of sustainable human development is very simple. It means that our development needs to be such that it should not compromise the future generations resources. Now understand that our consumption patterns are such that we have exploited the resources and the future generations might not have their due share. So why such sustainable development has not happened up till now? Because we have not understood environmentalism. So environmentalism, sensitization of environment will also be contributed again by the education. So education will provide the cornerstones to the freedom, human development, to democracy, and education therefore is a basic human right. So guys, this is the idea as why education is important. Now this particular idea can be used at multiple places. For example, in GS paper number 2, developmental sectors, social justice, there is the education. There we can use this particular dimension. Then second, we can use this particular dimension in the essays, because guys, there are many essays that have been asked onto the theme of education. And then in the ethics, because in the ethics, within the topic number 1, the role of educational institutions in value inculcation has been given. So there also this particular idea can be utilized. So please note down this particular idea, very important for UPSC academically. Now moving to the first article. Okay, so the first article, guys, that is there, India raises Sri Lankan Tamil issue in the United Nations. Now this particular article happens to be an important article with respect to GS paper number 2, international relation, and within the international relation, India-Sri Lanka relations. Now guys, understand that in itself this particular issue is a very big issue. So before going in this particular article, I will be giving you the background. Okay, and because see that if you know this particular background, then this particular article will actually make some sense. Otherwise it will not make a lot of sense. And the background related things that I'll discuss here, I had written here also. Okay, so I have summarized that, you can read it also. Now let's discuss the background. So basically, guys, when we talk about the Sri Lanka, so the Britishers, now the story, I'll start the story from the start. So actually the Britishers had ruled the Sri Lanka from 1815 to 1948. In 1948, Sri Lanka got independence. Now guys, when we talk about the demographic structure of Sri Lanka, demographic structure means the population, what type of population lives in Sri Lanka. So in Sri Lanka, there are majorly the Sinhalese who live in Sri Lanka. Now Sinhalese, they majorly follow the Buddhism. Sinhalese majorly follow the Buddhism. However, during the time when the Britishers were ruling the Sri Lanka, they had brought the Tamil people. They have brought the Tamil people from the Tamil Nadu region of India, and these Tamil people were brought to work on the plantations, the tea plantation and coffee plantations, and all the such kind of rubber plantation, other plantations they were brought to work upon. Okay, so what happened? The Tamilians and the Sinhalese, they start to live in Sri Lanka. But what has happened? The Sinhalese, they have been the majority population, and because of that particular thing, they have tried to, they have basically, there have been a kind of a differences between the Sri Lanka, between the Sinhalese and between the Tamilians. Now understand that during the time of the Britishers, Tamilians were actually favored into the government jobs and all such kind of a things. It actually created a lot of it also created a little bit of it created some kind of a differences between the Sinhalese and Tamilians when the Britishers were there in Sri Lanka, because Tamilians were favored by the Britishers. Now guys, moving on in this particular direction, so therefore what happened in 1948, actually in 1948 what happened, basically the Sri Lanka got independence, and as the Sri Lanka got independence, okay, as Sri Lanka got independence, what happened? Basically the new constitution of Sri Lanka and the new government that came there, this new government, they started to dominate the Tamilians. Now Tamilian people were not given proper representation into the political offices. Even the Tamil was not recognized as an official language. What happened actually here? There was the discrimination that was carried, and Sinhalese was declared as the official language. And as it was declared as an official language, what happened? It was now, obviously, when official language is Sinhalese, then all the government examinations, government jobs examination will be held in Sinhalese, and by that particular thing, Tamilian people were barred. Tamilian people cannot participate in that particular thing. Moreover, the autonomy were not given to the regions of north and the eastern Sri Lanka, where Tamilian people stay in the large numbers. So basically, after 1948 onwards, the Tamilians, they were discriminated. They were not given proper opportunities, and this particular thing basically frustrated the Tamilians, and there was a kind of an anguish against the Sri Lankan government that started to build up. And what happened? Therefore, in the mean course of a time, there were the outfits which were against the government, and in 1976 the Litte was formed, that is the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Elam. So in 1976 the Litte was formed by the Prabhakaran, and the objective of Litte was to acquire the homeland for the Tamilian people in the north and the eastern part of the island. Okay, so they wanted to capture the power. If government is not willing to give the authority to Tamilians, by the power, by the force, they will capture it from the government. So this was the goal of the Litte. You getting it or not? Now guys, as the Litte started its campaign against the Sri Lankan government, now the Sri Lankan government reached to the India and asked the India's assistance. So at that point of a time, what happened in 1987 between the Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi and Sri Lankan President H.R. Jayawardene, Rajiv Jayawardene, or Indo-Sri Lanka Accords were signed. Now, what happened? Basically, in 1987, the one very big development that happened was that basically it was asked that, okay, you see, basically it was asked that why this particular crisis is coming in Sri Lanka. Only one reason, that Tamilian people have not been given their due share. So therefore, this particular issue is coming. So therefore, a compromise or an arrangement was reached. It was said that let's bring an amendment into the constitution of Sri Lanka, and let's give the due power to the Tamilian people. Let give them the autonomy. Let give them their rights that have not been given up till now. So therefore, 13th Constitutional Amendment Act was proposed into the Sri Lanka. Now, what was the spirit of this 13th Constitutional Amendment Act? All these are the major points of the 13th Constitutional Amendment Act that you can see on the screen. So, number one, establishment of the provincial council into the north and the eastern parts. The appointment and powers of governors of provinces. Okay, so the governors will be brought into these provinces and they will be given the substantial power. Clear? Then the membership and tenure of the provincial councils were defined. Okay, then guys, after that, the appointment and powers of the boards of the ministers. So the board of the ministers, what power they will have for the north and the eastern region, that was talked about. legislative powers of the provincial councils, they were expanded. Much more powers were given to the north and the eastern part, to the Tamilian people. Then arrangement, when there is a failure in the administrative machinery, what will happen if there is a failure in administrative machinery? A finance commission was established. This finance commission will provide the funding to the north and the eastern part of the Sri Lanka. Then Tamil will be declared as an official language. English will be declared as a link language for the north as well as for the eastern region in the Sri Lanka. Then establishment of a high court into the north and the eastern provinces. So all these particular things were proposed into the 13th Constitutional Amendment Act, and it was a kind of a way to bring the solution to this particular problem that was emerging in the Sri Lanka. Is it clear or not? So the 13th Constitutional Amendment Act was proposed in the Sri Lanka. But understand this particular thing, guys, that this 13th Constitutional Amendment Act was not acceptable. Neither it was acceptable to the Sinhalese. Why? Because Sinhalese thought that a lot more has been given to the Tamilians. Okay, it is a lot that has been given. And at the same time, it was not even acceptable to the Litte. It was not even acceptable to the Litte, because according to the Litte, they expected that much more autonomy should have been given. And here, just they have done a lip service. Okay, there are many of the vague provisions that are there. So therefore, even the Litte was not happy. The Sinhalese were not happy. So therefore, what happened? The 13th Constitutional Amendment Act at that point of a time became not a kind of a very favorable kind of a solution. So therefore, what happened? Both the Sinhalese national parties and the Litte, they opposed it. Okay, and therefore after that a confrontation started between the Litte and the government of the Sri Lanka, and a civil war started which continued between the 1987 to 2009. Now basically what happened during this particular time, towards the end of the civil war, the Prabhakaran was executed and the civil war brought to an end. But when the civil war actually got ended in 2019, the United Nation Human Rights Council, UNHRC, said this particular thing, that actually the civil war was a bloodbath. The Sri Lankan government has used disproportionate power against the civilian people, particularly the Tamilians. According to certain estimates, it has been said that more than 40,000 people have been killed in this particular civil war, and the military has committed the war crimes. Again, I am repeating, military of the Sri Lanka had committed the war crimes, and it was said that the civil war was a kind of a bloodbath in the Sri Lanka. And guys, after 2009, repeatedly what has happened, the United Nations HRC, Human Rights Council, it has passed the resolution, it has brought the resolution against the Sri Lanka. And now the UNHRC from time to time has asked the member countries that they should vote whether the Sri Lanka has committed the war crimes or not. In this particular capacity, UNHRC come out with its reports. Now these reports are given to the member countries, and they are asked that okay, we need to vote that whether the Sri Lanka should be held responsible for the war crimes that had happened during the civil war, that is the 1987 to 2009, or not. Now in this particular thing, guys, India had played a very important role. India had played a very important role in this particular direction. What has happened? Now listen this particular thing. Basically, when this UNHRC resolution is coming, number one, India can vote against the Sri Lanka. India can vote against the Sri Lanka, that is, yes, Sri Lanka had committed the war crimes. Number two, India can vote in favor of Sri Lanka. India can vote in the favor of Sri Lanka, that is that no, Sri Lanka has not committed the war crimes. And number three is that India can abstain. India might neither vote against Sri Lanka nor vote in favor of Sri Lanka. That is something that happens. Now understand this particular thing. This entire situation is very complicated for India. Why it's complicated for India? Because see, India happens to be a very, very important neighbor of India, and therefore if India will vote against the Sri Lanka, the India-Sri Lanka relations will get impacted. One thing. Moreover, Sri Lanka is also at the same time very close to the China. If India will vote against the Sri Lanka will go near to the China, and China will increase the footprint in the Sri Lanka. China will use the Sri Lankan ports for their own activities, and at the end of the day, it will impact the national interest. So that is one problem. Fine. Then secondly, if India votes in favor of Sri Lanka, then it is also a problem. Why? Because guys, the Tamilian population will not perceive this particular thing positively, because when the civil war happened, actually the Tamilian peoples were the ones who got killed, who got exploited in the maximum number. So therefore the Tamilians will not see that particular thing favorably. And then the third comes is abstaining. However, if India abstains, that particular thing also questions the India's leadership qualities at the global front. So all these particular issues, all these particular challenges are coming on this particular issue. Now let's read this particular article. So guys, now let's read this particular article. Okay, if you know this particular background, then you will be able to make the sense of this particular article in more better way. Now, first of all guys, what has happened? There is now the 51st, just a minute. Now what is this particular article all about? I'll tell you a little bit about that. So basically now the 51st session of the United Nations Human Rights Council has happened. Okay, I'll highlight 51st session of the United Nations Human Rights Council had happened into the Geneva, where India has, now this session was about this particular thing, that now the United Nations Human Rights Council is again bringing a resolution. Understand this particular thing? UNHRC is again bringing the resolution against the Sri Lanka. And in that particular thing, what India has said, India has provided this particular thing that India has always believed in the responsibility of states for promotion and protection of the human rights and constructive international dialogue. Is it clear or not? India has said that India is very much concerned about the human right violation that has happened. You getting it or not? Now guys, at the same time, India has again repeated one particular point. What India has repeated? Now you just remember, I discussed with you the 13th Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, I discussed with you this 13th Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, now understand this thing, that this 13th Constitutional Amendment Act, though it was agreed in 1987, but it has not been implemented up till now. Okay, it has not been completely implemented up till now, and Indian government is very much not happy with this particular development. So Indian government says that you have not implemented up till now the 13th Constitutional Amendment Act. At the same time, we expect you that you should respect the Tamilian people's rights. Okay, so this is a kind of a warning that India has given to the Sri Lanka in this 51st session of the United Nations Human Rights Council. Are you getting it or not? So India, what India did? India voiced its concerns over the lack of measurable progress into the Sri Lanka's promised political solution. What was the promised political solution? 13th Constitutional Amendment Act. They have not done anything. So India had said that it is not something that we like. So basically India has very clearly provided that there is a lack of progress, that there is a lack of measurable progress, fine, in the Sri Lanka's implementation of the 13th Constitutional Amendment Act. You getting it or not? So this is all the thing that has happened. Okay, 13 years have happened since 2019. The survivors, they have not been given justice up till now. So India is showing its resentment, India is showing its frustration against the Sri Lanka, that you have not done anything up till now. Now guys, when we talk about India's performance into the past, that whenever the resolution have come in against the Sri Lanka, what India has done. So basically guys, India has voted thrice in the favor of UN resolution on Sri Lanka. Fine, has voted thrice in the favor of UN resolution on Sri Lanka. Means they have voted in favor of UN. In favor of UN means that they have voted against the Sri Lanka. 3 times they have voted against the Sri Lanka. 2 times India has abstained. 2014 and 2021, India has abstained. India had said that okay, we will not be voting in this particular thing. Now guys, understand that 3 years, 2009. Okay, just a minute, I'll write it here. So just a minute, let me change the color of the pen. 2009. Okay, after that 2012 and 2013. Okay, so again here you can see 2009, 2012 and 2013. During these 3 years, India has voted against the Sri Lanka, which means in favor of UN. In favor of UN, that yes, they have committed the war crimes. But in 2 years, that is 2014 and 2021, India has abstained. Now guys, understand this particular thing. This is also the first time that India has commented anything against the economic policies of Sri Lanka. Now you know this particular thing, that the economic crisis are going in the Sri Lanka, and here first of all India has already provided the $4 billion assistance to Sri Lanka, and saying this particular thing, that it is because of the debt driven economy, because of the debt driven nature of the Sri Lankan economy, which has landed the Sri Lanka in such a kind of a thing. And India has said that we expect that the Sri Lanka will work into the interest of the people, will work their capacities, will work for their empowerment, and will work for the devolution of the power onto the grassroots. It will implement the 13th Constitutional Amendment Act. You getting it or not? So guys, understand one particular thing I want to tell you. If you just read the headings, it simply means that okay, India had commented. But if you don't know the background, that why such a kind of a thing is happening, then you need to then you will not be able to appreciate this particular entire issue. So guys, with this we have covered one entire dimension of the India-Sri Lanka relations. So this is a very big dimensions between the India-Sri Lanka relation, and this entire dimension we have covered on this particular thing. Now you are not expected to read anything for your UPSC exam. However, if you have some personal interest, then there is no limit. But for your UPSC examination, if you take the note of all this particular thing, it will suffice for your examination. Now moving to the next article. Okay, 3 to tangle. Now this particular article we have taken from the editorial section of the Hindu newspaper, and this particular article will see with respect to the India-US relations, okay, within GS paper number 2. And actually it is an article which talks about the irritants between the India-US relations. Now first of all, I want to tell you little bit of a basic approach. Let's discuss little bit of the basic approach. Guys, whenever you prepare the international relation topic, first of all you need to basically have a brief comparison between the two countries. First of all, there needs to be the brief comparison between two countries. For example, when we talk about the India and USA is a presidential form of government, India is a parliamentary form of government. Okay, so political comparison, economic comparison, etc. Then when we talk about the country, there are the points of convergences. Convergences means that what are the common points where both the countries agree. Fine. And then there are the points of divergences. Divergences being the irritants between the two countries. So understand this particular thing, that convergences are there, divergences are there. For example, when we talk about the USA, what are the convergence point of the India and the USA? Convergence point is number one in the quadrilateral security dialogue, both are the partners, both support each other. Second, this particular thing is that both are talking about the rule-based Indo-Pacific region. Okay, both talks about the rule-based Indo-Pacific region. Third thing is that both are against the assertive China. So these are the converging points between the India and the USA. But at the same time, there are the divergences also between the India and USA. Now, what are the divergences? Between the India and USA? Divergences, for example, number one, Russia. Now understand this particular thing, that up till now, India had not condemned the Russia in the Ukraine. Fine, that is one particular thing. Still, India is going for the weapon imports from the Russia and all those particular kind of things. And then the Pakistan issue is again big irritant between the India and the USA. And today in this particular article, we'll discuss this particular Pakistan as how it is becoming a kind of an irritant between the India-USA relations. Okay, so India-US-Pakistan angle has come here in between. Okay, so there is one question, sir, conclusion of voting. Okay, so the voting will take place. Up till now, the resolutions have been passed, but concrete something has not come. Okay, so Raja Abhishek, you are asking, I think, about this old article, that is a Sri Lankan article. So the conclusion has not come up till now on this particular matter, that is ongoing. Okay, now coming back to our article. Okay, so basically guys, what's the present issue? Why this again India, Pakistan, USA thing is coming in between? So recently what has happened, between the Pakistan and USA, one particular deal has been agreed, and as per this particular deal, USA has provided that they will support the Pakistan in refitting, repairing of their F-16 fighter jets. So when we talk about, guys, the F-16 fighter jets, they are a very important arsenal into the Pakistan's air force, and since 1980 F-16 fighter jets are being used by the Pakistan, and from time to time they are to be replenished, they are to be refurbished, they are to be repaired, they are to be upgraded, and in the upgradation of the F-16 fighter jets of the Pakistan, USA plays a major important role. And now USA had said that yes, we are going to refurbish the Pakistan's F-16 fighter jets. Now as this particular thing has happened, it has upset the India, because, guys, you know this particular thing, that the Pakistan has been a state which has sponsored the terrorism in the India, and if the F-16 fighter fleet of the Pakistan will become more strong, Pakistan can use that particular thing against the Indian interest. So therefore India has not been happy on this particular development. Now, guys, when we talk about the USA, why the USA is supporting the Pakistan in this particular capacity, you need to understand. Basically, guys, two things is that now the USA says that the Pakistan is a major non-NATO ally. Pakistan is a major non-NATO ally. Okay, NATO stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is a grouping which is led by the USA, and NATO is a military alliance. So Pakistan is a non-NATO major power, and it is needed by the USA to control over the terrorism. Now, guys, I want to tell you one particular situation here. So there is an Afghanistan factor that comes in between. So basically, till 2021, USA needed Pakistan for Afghanistan. Why? Because, guys, you know this particular thing, that after the 9/11 attack that happened into the USA, so after the 9/11 attack, the USA sent its troops into the Afghanistan to control the terrorism. For 20 years these troops stayed into the Afghanistan, and here, if they have to sustain into the Afghanistan, USA need to have the support of Pakistan. Are you getting it or not? Because, guys, when we talk about in this entire issue, Taliban has been a major player always. Now the Taliban and the Pakistan has shared a very special type of a relation. So basically, in order to have Taliban under control, Pakistan is needed. In order to get any kind of a support, for example, any logistic support is needed, any other kind of a support, material support is needed, Pakistan is very important. So USA needed Pakistan till 2021 because USA has to sustain in Afghanistan. Now what had happened after 2021? After 2021, the USA has pulled out of Pakistan. Okay, now the USA had come out of the USA had pulled out of Afghanistan. After 2021, USA had pulled out of Afghanistan. Now, guys, Afghanistan can have a backlash against the USA. Okay, there is a probability that again the terrorism can thrive in the Afghanistan, and again certain terrorist outfits might attack against the America because of a revenge, because of a vengeance that is there. So now also, to keep Afghanistan under control, the Pakistan is needed. So I'll put this particular entire concept in two lines. Okay, see, earlier, to stay in Afghanistan till 2021 to stay in Afghanistan, USA needed Pakistan, and now to stay away from Afghanistan, USA needs Pakistan even more. Okay, to stay away from Afghanistan, USA now needs Pakistan even more. So Pakistan is a kind of a need of USA, and on this particular thing, USA is justifying that we have to support Pakistan, including refurbishment of their F-16 fighter jets. That is something that's happening. Now, what's the India's response in this particular thing? Up till now, guys, the External Affairs Ministry has kept silence on this particular matter. They have not said anything. Now, actually, in 2016 also, there was one development that happened. What happened in 2016? During that particular time, US President Barack Obama agreed that they will be providing the assistance to the Pakistan into the forms of the fighter jets. Okay, so in 2016, okay, there was the Obama administration's move to give more F-16 fighter jets to Pakistan in 2016. At that point of a time, India was very much against. India came outrightly and said that we condemn such kind of a thing. But now the government has maintained the silence. But guys, understand this particular thing, that such kind of a things will impact the India-USA relation. It will impact the India-USA relations. Into the past, a lot of progress have happened in between the two countries. For example, in the Quad. In the quadrilateral security dialogue, they had come together. Then again, I have told you, against the China, they have come together. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that India cannot speak too much also. So this is, now India also has some sticky situation here. India cannot speak. Why India cannot speak too much? Because listen this thing, Russia. Now Russia, from the Russia, India is importing the S-400 missile defense system. S-400 defense system we are procuring from Russia. Now you see this particular thing, that basically there is a CATSA Act. There is a CATSA Act. CATSA Act. Okay. Now what does this CATSA Act means? CATSA means Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanction Act. Again, I'll repeat, CATSA means Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanction Act. Now this is an act, or this is a law of USA, and as per this particular CATSA Act, USA has provided that if any country will import any item from the adversary of the USA, then the USA will impose sanctions. USA will impose ban on that particular country. Now who are the adversaries of the USA? Under the CATSA Act, USA's adversaries are North Korea, it's Iran, it's Russia. It's Russia, and any other countries also can also be designated by the USA. Now what is happening? So see this particular thing, India is importing the S-400 from Russia, and Russia is an adversary of USA under the CATSA. And if India will go forward with this S-400 deal, what can happen? The USA can impose the ban on the sanctions on India. Up till now, USA had not said anything. Up till now, USA had said that okay, will not impose the sanction, will give the waiver to India. This is an exception that the USA is ready to do for India, because USA also need India. Why USA need India? For the Quad and for China. So guys, see, everybody got everybody's back here. Okay, so I hope that you are understanding that everybody got everybody's back here. So nobody can come out rightly and speak very clearly. Nobody can, but at the same time, the countries, they have their insecurities also. So this is a kind of a very strange situation that has happened. Okay, so USA, okay, has certain issues. It cannot come and can criticize India. For example, when India is procuring S-400, because India's support is needed. Now India cannot speak a lot. Why? Because at the same time, India is going towards Russia. So all these particular issues have come here in between. So guys, see, if you are searching for a conclusion in this particular thing, there is no conclusion. Okay, international relations, when we talk about it, many a times they are very complicated, and there are a lot of strings attached with each other. Okay, and everybody has some of the privileges, some of the leverages, some of the issues are there. Okay, so the beauty of this particular thing is that you need to understand that how all these things have been tangled, and how one is linked with the other and other is linked with yet another. This is something that you need to understand in this particular article. So up till now, what has happened? USA is ready to refit F-16s. India had not said any particular thing. USA is also not saying any particular thing because of these issues that are there in between. Pakistan is needed by USA for Afghanistan. India needs USA to counter China. At the same time, India needs Russia for the weapon. All these things are there. So that is all about this particular article, guys. I hope that you have understood it, and I hope that you have understood all these particular dimensions. Now moving to the next article. Great G20 power, great responsibility. Okay, so guys, this is a very good article with respect to the GS paper number 2. So not only the G20 has been discussed here, but many other things have also been discussed. Fine, which is important for the India's interest. So let's discuss this entire article. Fine, now this article will be important in the international relations, India's leadership positions at the international forums. Now, first of all, guys, this particular article has given a very beautiful summary. This article has given a very beautiful summary that what is India's diplomatic engagements in the time to come. Okay, what India has done and what India is going to do. Very good article. Now, number one, recently we have seen already, I think 3-4 days back, we have taken in our newspaper analysis. If you are following regularly, you might be knowing it. Recently the senior officers meeting was held between the quad members. In the senior officer meeting, the representatives of India, Australia, Japan and the USA have participated. What was the senior officers meeting? I told you that, guys, that once a summit or once a leaders meet happened, which happened in the past, to implement all the promises that have been done onto the summit, the senior official meetings also happen. So recently this senior officials meeting happened, guys. After that, what has happened? There is the 2+2 dialogue also between the India and Japan that has happened. In 2+2 dialogue, what happens between the two countries? Their external affair minister and the defense minister will come and will be discussing onto the converging points. So recently the Indian external affair minister and Indian minister of external affairs and the Japanese defense minister and their minister of external affairs, they came and they meet each other under this 2+2 dialogue. This dialogue was happened into the Tokyo, fine, on the strategic cooperation, between India and Japan. What are the things that were discussed in that? Okay, joint exercises where India and Japan both will participate, defense manufacturing was discussed, and emerging technologies, they were discussed. Okay, this is something that has happened. So all these two developments have happened. Okay, then now these are the developments that are going to held in the coming time. So basically, guys, first of all, there is the Indian Prime Minister. Our Prime Minister will attend the SCO meet, Shanghai Cooperation Organization meet will be attended by the Indian Prime Minister. It will be held in the Uzbekistan. Is it clear or not? Moreover, in this particular thing, now this particular SCO meet is very important because this is the first in-person summit that is happening after the COVID-19 pandemic. And here, guys, in the SCO, the China will also come, and as India and China both will be there onto this common platform, they can resolve their disputes, their controversies, particularly on the LAC, the long pending disputes between the India and China that are there. They can be discussed because both the leaders will be sharing the same platform, common platform. This is something that is there. Moreover, guys, what will happen? India will also assume the presidency of the SCO, fine, after this Samarkand summit, that is the summit that is happening in Uzbekistan. So fine, so guys, the Samarkand in Uzbekistan, fine. So after this summit, India will hold the presidency of SCO till 2023. So this is the upcoming development. After that, guys, India is also going to be the president of the UNSC for the month of December 2022. Right now, guys, when we talk about the United Nations Security Council, India is a non-permanent member within the just a minute, in the UNSC. Right now, India is a non-permanent member, and it will assume the presidency of the UNSC for the month of December 2022. And then what will happen? India will also assume the presidency of G20 till the 2023. So three things. India is going to assume the presidency for the month of December 2022 in UNSC. Clear? Listen very carefully. Second is SCO's presidency, which will be held till 2023 for 1 year. Then the G20's presidency, which will also be held till 2023, 1 year. Now, then when we talk about the presidency of G20, guys, this is a very important thing, because when we talk about G20, it is one of the most important body right now in the world. It is one of the most high profile body. Why? Number one, the G20, it has a strategic role. Why? Because 80% of the world's GDP, it is contributed by G20 countries. 75% of international trade, it happens in these G20 countries. Then 60% of the world population is in these G20 countries. So economically, demographically, strategically, G20 is the most important grouping, and India is going to be the president. Now, guys, at this particular time, G20 countries and the entire world is facing certain common challenges. What are these common challenges? Number one, the pandemic, economic challenge, health crisis, existential crisis that has come. Then the Ukraine conflict has divided the world. Okay, the world has been divided, where the people are in favor of Russia or are in favor of USA. Then stagflation. Stagflation means when the inflation as well as the stagnation come together, they are the stagflation. Terrorism, climate change. Okay, all these are the big challenges that the world is now facing. Now everybody is looking that what India can do, what important role India can play. So from the India, there are a lot of expectations presently. Now understand this particular thing, guys. What India should do in this particular capacity, India can observe the Indonesia. Why? Because right now Indonesia is the president. Right now Indonesia is the president, and so therefore we can take certain inspiration, certain lessons from the Indonesia's presidency. Now understand that Indonesia has focused on certain core areas. India can also focus on to those core areas. For example, Indonesia has focused on three key pillars. What are these three key pillars? Number one, global health architecture. Number two, sustainable energy. And number three, digital transformation. Now when we talk about the global health architecture, understand this particular thing, guys, that today the world needs to be prepared for even the future pandemics that will come. And in order to be prepared for the future pandemics, health infrastructure, health architecture, health governance, data sharing for the health is needed. So on that thing Indonesia focus, then sustainable energy and the digital transformation. Fine, 5G, potentials of 5G, fourth industrial revolution, how to deal with that, all these things. Now what India can do, guys, India can focus on the similar things. Okay, on the similar things India can focus, and along with that India can also focus on the issues such as the economic recovery. Right now entire world is facing the challenge of inflation. So how economic recovery can be there? Trade and investment, unemployment, okay, patent waiver on diagnostics. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the India along with the South Africa has proposed a resolution under the WTO that the waivers, that the patent on the diagnostic kits, vaccines, all needs to be waived off. Now countries have agreed that okay, we will waive off the patent on vaccines, but on diagnostic kits, on medicines, nothing has been agreed. So this is something that India can take forward. Then the therapeutics, vaccines, all vaccines for the countries who have not been able to vaccinate their own people, COVID-19, terrorism, these are certain issues that India can focus. Now guys, understand that G20 is a unique platform where the developed countries and developing countries have equal stature. Nobody is superior, nobody is inferior. And India, assuming the presidency on the behalf of the developing nations, India can lead this entire grouping and can prove its leadership qualities onto the international front. Is it clear or not? So basically guys, India offers an opportunity to champion the cause of the developing and the least developed countries. Is it clear or not? Moreover, India can also engage with the countries of Africa and South America. Clear? Now guys, Africa and South America, they have a substantial population, they have substantial stakes, but many number of times they have not been consulted adequately onto the international platforms. So they also can be enrobed here. Okay, and one very important thing, I am highlighting this particular point here. It has been said that G20 should not remain just a talk shop. It should not be a talk shop where you are just talking, okay, and it should become a walk shop. Okay, you need not to talk, you need to walk. Are you getting it or not? Not badi baate, but result also needs to be focused. So this is something very good article, very beautiful article, and guys, a lot of international relations dimensions have been covered. Okay, and therefore I'll say that please do read it properly. Now we'll move to the next article. India has lost its way in the use of international law. Okay, so guys, this particular article will be seen with respect to the GS paper number 2, international issues. Now this particular article is not specific to one particular country, but it is a kind of a giving an entirely new dimension on entire international relation front. Now let's discuss this particular article, what it's talking about. So guys, the article is saying this particular thing, that we are celebrating the 75 years of Indian independence, and we are entering into the Amrit Kal. Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav we have celebrated, and we are entering the Amrit Kal. By 2047, we expect to become a developed nation. We expect it to become the developed nation. But one particular thing that India has not been able to focus more. Understand this particular thing, guys, that see, please pay attention. Now India has always been the country which has said that we want to respect the international law, and India had adhered to all the international treaties, international conventions, etc. Even guys, article number 51 of the Indian constitution very specifically provides, article 51, which is a DPSP, clearly provides that India has to foster the respect for the international law. So very responsible country we are, and we have followed the international law. But guys, understand, and in this particular capacity, India has even played a key role in even organizing many of the international conferences. For example, Asian African Conference, okay, at Bandung in 1955 was organized. India was also the founding member of the NAM. Fine, India has proposed even many of the very important treaties also at the global front. I want to give you one example here. And the example is of Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism, CCIT. Now, what is this CCIT? Guys, understand this particular thing, that you will agree that today terrorism is the biggest challenge that the entire world is facing. But you will be surprised to know that up till now we don't have a single treaty which is addressing the all dimensions of terrorism. There are the 13 sectoral treaties and conventions which are dealing in bits and pieces with the terrorism, but entire one treaty dealing with the entire gamut of terrorism is not there. So in 1996, India proposed a comprehensive treaty by the name of CCIT, Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism, but up till now it has not been passed. So it was India's important contribution. Secondly, guys, International Solar Alliance, in which the countries have been nudged to leverage the solar energy. Okay, fine. So International Solar Alliance also was an India's contribution. So India has played a very important role. But guys, understand this thing, that at the same time, the article says that India has not been able to use the international law as its own advantage. Now, understand this particular thing. Basically, guys, there is the legal vocabulary. Okay. For example, USA is outrightly containing the China, but USA has justified the China. How? USA had said that we are trying to contain China so that the China doesn't disturb the rule-based order. Now understand one more thing. USA is coming into the Indo-Pacific region. Why it is coming into the Indo-Pacific region? To control China. But have they said that, okay, we are directly coming to take a bid on China? No, they have said that we are coming to ensure the rule-based order. They say that we are coming in order to uphold the freedom of navigation. So see, these are very fancy kind of words. These are very beautiful vocabulary that the USA has invented, and on that particular basis, USA is even justifying it's going against the China. So basically, India had not been able to explore this particular kind of issue. Now, what the article is saying that India's engagement with the international law has been marginal. Fine, India has not been very successful to use the international law vocabulary, for example, to call out the Chinese transgression. Now, Chinese are transgressing around the LAC, but India has not been able to use such kind of offensive vocabulary. International law, India has not been used. Now, there are some good examples where India has used international law. For example, when the Kulbhushan Jadhav case was there, India called the China in the International Court of Justice. So this was a successful example. Fine. Then guys, India had, for example, not been able to challenge Pakistan. Now see, Pakistan has not given the most favored nation status to India. India gave the MFN status to. India gave the most favored nation to Pakistan, but Pakistan did not give to India. India has not been challenged that. India has not challenged this particular thing. Now guys, what is the reason? What is the reason that India has not been able to use vocabulary, has not been able to use the international law in its own favor? Reason number one is that, guys, that when we talk about the Indian Foreign Service, it is populated by the generalist diplomats. Now obviously, many of you will be clearing this UPSC examination and you will be becoming the Indian Foreign Service officer. Now all of you, obviously, and everybody, they are a generalist diplomats. They are not experts into the international law. They know the international theory, relation theories. For example, they might be knowing about realism, but they are not expert onto the international law. Now guys, in this particular capacity, within the Ministry of External Affairs, there is the Legal and Treaties Division. One Legal and Treaties Division which deals with the international law, but it is grossly understaffed. Fine. The next thing that is talking about that guys, is actually there is also a lot of fragmentation into the decision making when the international treaties, international conventions are concerned. Now understand this thing, that when the international relations are concerned, many ministries are coming in between. For example, finance, commerce, law, environment, all they make different parts of the international law, but guys, they don't have again expertise into the international law. Understand this particular thing. So therefore there was a parliamentary committee report that came in 2016, and it recommended that India need to establish the Department of International Law under the Law Ministry, but up till now the Department of International Law has not been established. Moreover, the government has failed to fund research into the international law also. So there is a problem that we have not been able to fund the international research onto the international law. We have not been able to bring the specialist officers. Even the basically the Department of International Law has not been constituted. Fine, we are not able to fund even research onto the international law. All these issues are problematic. Now guys, understand this particular thing. In 2021, a parliamentary committee recommended that the Ministry of External Affairs should establish the chairs for the research in international law in university. Now, within the universities on international law, you need to provide, you need to create the departments, as well as into that particular departments you need to bring eminent scholars who should do international research should do the research into the international law. This is something that has been provided. Okay. Now guys, it has been provided that MEA, Minister of External Affairs, funds the research centers such as the Indian Council of World Affairs, but the Indian Council of World Affairs largely focus onto the study of international relation but not international law. So point that's coming is that not just focused on international relation, focus on international law, and in that particular capacity we need to promote certain initiatives. This is something that has been given. So guys, according to me, this is a very fresh kind of a perspective that has been given, that how India need to take its international relation. So international law dimension has been given, and this is a good one. Now we'll move to the next article. India may need 28 gigawatt in new coal-fired power plants by 2032. Now guys, this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 3, environment. GS paper number 3, environment and conservation. Now understand this particular thing guys, that there is now the report has been given by the Central Electricity Authority. So all the data that we'll read here, it has been given by the Central Electricity Authority. Now understand what the Central Electricity Authority is saying. According to a report that they have published, is that basically India's demand for electricity is going to increase. Obviously it's increasing. Why? Because now we need ACs, we need many more electrical, as we are using more electrical equipments, we need more electricity. So India's electricity demand will grow by 7.2% every year over the next 5 years by 2027. Now when we talk about the India's growing demand for electricity, it is double the rate at which it was increasing from 2017 to 2022. So basically guys, our electricity demand, what it was from 2017 to 2022, it will become double, it will become 2x in the next 5 years, that is by till 2027. And as we need more electricity, obviously we need more power plants. And from where the power will be coming? So it has been said that India has to depend more onto the coal-fired power plant. Understand this particular thing, that guys, India has one of the largest coal reserves in the world, and by that particular thing, the coal energy always happens to be very affordable for India, and therefore India might now need 28 gigawatt of the new coal-fired power plants by 2030 to meet the power demand that will increase. So right now, what is the current generation capacity? It's 404 gigawatt. So right now our capacity is 404 gigawatt. It will be becoming double. So therefore, at least 28 gigawatt of energy will be coming from the coal-fired power plant. Other will come from the renewables such as the solar, wind, etc. Fine. Now guys, when we talk about the share of the coal into the total energy in India, it is going to fall at around 60% by 2027. Okay, by 2027. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that India at the same time is suggesting that we are going to add more and more renewable energy sources. For example, we are targeting that 500 gigawatt of energy will be coming from the non-fossil fuels, will be coming from the renewable energy by 2030. But at the same time, coal is also increasing. coal is also increasing at the same time. So what's the issue that's coming in this particular direction? Guys, the issue that's coming is that basically India's demand for the electricity will push India to rely more and more onto the coal. And if we'll rely more onto the coal, it will be problematic on certain fronts. Number one, in 2021, in the COP26, that is the Conference of Parties 26 that has held into the UK, Glasgow, that has happened into the 2021 in the Glasgow, India had said that India will attain the carbon neutrality by 2070. India will attain the carbon neutrality by 2070. But now if we'll rely more onto the coal, this India's goal of carbon neutrality will get impacted. Moreover, guys, India had said that the 50% of electricity will come from renewable energies by 2030. How that particular thing will be achieved? If we'll go more on the coal. So this is some issues that the India right now is facing. Now guys, when we talk about the present times, India is a major greenhouse gas producer in the world. We are one of the largest emitter of the carbon, but at the same time per capita emissions of India are one of the lowest, much lower than the developed countries. Okay, so India is in a kind of a very it is in a sticky situation. At one hand, we need to provide electricity to people. We want to meet the electricity consumption. For that, coal is to be used. But if we go for that 2070 carbon neutrality goal and to install 50% of electricity by 2030 by renewables, might be impacted. These are all the practical issues that right now India is facing. So that's all guys about this issue. Now let's move to the next article. Supreme Court rejects petition linking pornography to sex crimes. Okay, now guys, you don't need to go too much into the detail in this particular article, but just you need to see this particular article with respect to your awareness with respect to the legal jurisprudence. Okay, now let's understand. Very simple what happened. I'll tell you background. So recently a petition has been filed. In Supreme Court, and this petition said that if a person is watching pornography, if a particular person is watching the pornography, then it leads to sexual abuse of the child. It leads to the sexual abuse of the child. It leads to the sexual abuse of the child. It leads to the sex crimes. So a link has been made that the pornography leads to the sexual abuse of the children or the crimes such as the rapes. So therefore it was asked that the pornography needs to be banned because pornography leads to the sex abuse of child and the rape, such kind of a crime. Now what Supreme Court had said? Supreme Court has refused. Supreme Court had said that it will not entertain a plea which is linking the internet porn and the sex crimes, including the child abuse. Now it has been provided this particular thing that, see, though watching the pornography could be a moral issue for some people, that is the thing, but how we can make a very clear connection, because if you are suggesting that always pornography leads to the sex abuse of the child, you are suggesting that we need to bring the surveillance. We are going to go ahead for the online surveillance. We need to track everybody's internet, whether they are watching the pornography or not, because by that logic, if once they watch pornography, they are going to go for the child sexual abuse. So it is something that you are suggesting to go for the online surveillance, and we cannot go for the massive online surveillance. That is something that the Supreme Court had said. Therefore the Supreme Court has rejected. Now read the heading. Therefore the Supreme Court has rejected the petition which linked the pornography to the sex crimes. Here the Supreme Court has given one example. In the 1990 in the USA also this particular thing came. It was said that some type of people should be banned from accessing the internet. At that point of a time, Justice Kennedy of the USA Supreme Court said that we cannot set the house on the fire to roast the pig. Okay, you cannot burn the entire house because within that house there was a pig and that pig was to be roasted. So you cannot burn the entire house. So therefore it has been said that some people might be watching the pornography and might be going for these sex abuse of the children. That is completely that is completely to be curbed, that is completely to be controlled. But yes, we cannot completely ban or completely go for the surveillance of the online internet. This is something that has been provided. Fine. However, you don't need to go too much into the detail. Just this dimension you should see. Now we'll move to the next article. BDS course to be revamped with the semester based system. Now this particular article, guys, we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 2 education, but only the points that I have highlighted You need to see that, not more beyond than that. So guys, every class I myself tell you where more analysis is to be done, and I do that with a lot depths, but some articles just are to be seen in headings selectively. So this is that particular kind of an article. So basically guys, bachelor of dental surgery, bachelor of dental surgery, it is a curriculum, it is a medical curriculum, and for the first time we are bringing the reforms onto the BDS. We are making Indian BDS course on par with the global practice. Now when we talk about the BDS course presently, okay, so presently BDS course is a 5-year course. There is a 4-year internship, there is a 4-year academics and 1-year internship. 4-year academics and 1-year internship. But now a new system has been proposed which talks about that this particular 5-year course needs to be converted into the 5.5 years. So there will be 4.5 years of academics and 1 year of internship, 1 year of rotational internship will be there. So now the course is being converted from 5 years to 5.5 years. Okay, at the same time it is being said that the BDS students, they will be given the 50 to 60 elective subjects. For example, there will be the Ayurveda, homeopathy, Unani, Siddha, dentistry, yogic sciences. Okay, so 50 to 60 elective courses options will be given, and out of that they have to choose 9. They have to choose 9 electives. Okay, this is something that has been brought. It has been said that this proposed curriculum will bring India in at the global standards. This is something that has been provided, and there will also be 1 year paid compulsory rotatory internship in dental colleges. So you'll be going into the different dental colleges, and the internship of 1 year paid internship will also be there. So these are some of the changes that has been suggested. Okay, now guys, you don't need to do PhD on that. Okay, UPSC doesn't ask that okay which college will be going on. No, just you need to have an understanding in just 5 to 6 lines maximum. Beyond that, not needed for our exam. So that is all about this particular article. Okay, now states told to implement the adoption rules. Now guys, yesterday if you remember, I have discussed this entire article with you, that is on to the 12th of September, where I have discussed you that where I have discussed the entire process of adoption with you. I have discussed you the background starting from the Hindu Adoption Act. Then we have seen the Juvenile Justice Act of 2015, and then we have seen the Juvenile Justice Amendment Act of 2021. And I have told you the entire issue of the adoption. I have told you this particular thing that basically now the DM has been given the power for the adoptions, but nobody knows that particular thing. Now what has happened, states have been told to implement all the adoption rules that got changed by the 2021 JJA that has come. So just the states have been asked that they should implement it. And guys, we have discussed this entire issue much more into the detail yesterday, that is the 12th of September newspaper analysis. If in case you have not seen the yesterday's newspaper analysis, I will highly encouraging you that please go and read this particular entire issue. Yesterday the first article we have seen, and if you have seen it, no need to read this particular article, and guys, no need to read any article in this particular line once if you have seen the yesterday's discussion. Okay, so if you have seen it, very good, no need to read it and any related news. And if you have not seen it, please see the yesterday's edition article, because there from the entire scratch I have explained this particular thing. This is not giving any background. Fine, so please see that. So that's all about the today's newspaper analysis, guys, and fingers crossed. So there was no internet, but by a lot of difficulty we tried to arrange the internet in the morning, and we were able to have this particular live stream. Okay, so that's all about the today's newspaper analysis. And guys, now we'll meet tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves, and if you think that our effort is helping you out and you are getting some wisdom out of that, please do considering hitting your like button, and please do considering comment, because the comment and your likes helps us in knowing that whether we are doing the right work or not. Okay, so that is a very important part of our motivation. So please hit the like button, please do like, please do comment on the channel. Okay, and please do share the initiative with your friends. Okay, so thank you so much. Now we'll meet tomorrow. Take care.